That is super smooth. Hello and welcome back to Southern Food Junkie. Today, we're going to be making cold brew, so stay tuned. So what is cold brew? Cold brew is simply coffee that is made in cold water. It is steeped in the cold water. Some people may confuse it with iced coffee. Iced coffee is actually brewed with hot water and then it is poured over ice, which makes it iced coffee. So, why make cold brew? They say that hot water causes acids and other bitterness to come out of the coffee when it is brewed. When you make cold brew, they say it is a smooth, more fruity coffee, and there's no bitterness and there's less acid. There's two ways that you can make this cold brew coffee. You can make a concentrate, or you can make what they call a ready to drink. The concentrate is usually a 1:2 to a 1:4 ratio, meaning if you was doing 1:4, 1 cup of coffee grounds to 4 cups of water, that would make a concentrate. A concentrate would be like if you were to pour half of your glass full of coffee and the other half full of water to dilute it, or half of your glass full of coffee and then put creamer in there to dilute it, or over ice. That will all dilute your coffee, or a combination of those. Now, if you make ready to drink, you simply put it in the refrigerator, pour it in a glass when you're ready to drink it, and it's ready to drink. You don't have to dilute it. Now, we're using a ratio of 1:8 for this ready to drink coffee. For this recipe, it's best to start out with whole beans and grind them yourself. We're going to grind them into a rough ground coffee. With this type of grinder that I'm using, I'm going to pulse the beans. If you do it on a continuous, it can build up heat, and then that can also make your beans bitter. So it's best just to pulse them like this until you get the consistency that you're looking for. So we got our coffee beans ground. I wanted to talk a little bit about the coffee beans. I just got a cheap coffee bean. A lot of people will source different types of coffee beans for this. From research, I found out that a medium to a light roast is probably better for this. This opens up more of the fruity flavors versus some of the chocolatey notes that you get with some of the dark roast. Also, there's some people to say that old coffee beans, or coffee beans that have been roasted for a while, makes a better cold brew coffee. I don't really know if that's true or not. I hadn't tested that. So we've got out a cup measured out of these coffee beans after we put them through our little grinder. These grinders are cheap. All of this can be done without much equipment. If you do want to get some equipment, I'm going to put some pictures at the end of here of some things that possibly can make it easier, some pictures or some infusers that you can use. It'll make this much easier so you don't have to filter it out at the end. But I'm simply going to dump this in here and put it together, and then we're going to filter it at the end. So let's get back down and show you what it looks like. I find it's best to go ahead and put your coffee grounds into your jar first, and then pour your 8 cups of water on top of it. Remember, we're using a 1:8 ratio. 1 cup of grounds and 8 cups of water, or whatever mixture you want of that. If you don't want to make this much, you would just reduce that. So if you was using a 1/2 cup of grounds, it would be 4 cups of water. Don't make a mess like I did though. Next, you're going to use a long spoon to give it a good stir, just to get all the coffee grounds saturated before we put it into the refrigerator. Place the jar in the refrigerator for 12 to 24 hours. Alright, so it is the next day. It's been roughly about 16 hours. So we're going to go over here and filter out our cold brew coffee. So let's do it. Started out using this wire mesh strainer with a coffee filter into it. This ended up not working out good, and I decided to leave this footage in here for you to see. I think, I don't know if the filter kept getting stopped up or what the deal was, but if you can see, just a little bit later after this, I used a different method, and that worked pretty good. This method just takes too long. You pour a little bit in, and it would drain just a little bit, but the majority of it would sit for a while. Next, I used this cheesecloth, which I used to filter out my kombucha. This worked perfect. For the most part, this got every little bit of it out. I thought that it got all of it out, but after going back and looking at it, it left just a little bit of fine powder in it. If you're concerned about that, you probably can filter that a second time, maybe this time using the coffee filter, and it would probably work out perfect for you. Now it's time for the moment of truth. Let's give this cold brew a smell test, and then let's taste it. So, it's got a really, really strong smell to it. I don't know if you ever smell like the way coffee smells when you when it comes out of the coffee maker. It don't smell as good as it did when it was fresh before you put it in there. This smells like coffee grounds before you actually put the water into it. You know, sometimes it just has this musty smell after you make a pot of coffee. It smells like opening up a bag of coffee. It smells very, very fresh. Let's give it a taste. That is super smooth. I'm not a big coffee drinker that likes it black per se. And if you can see, this is not very super strong in color. It's not very dark, but it has a very, very bold taste. But it's very smooth. It's kind of hard to describe. It's not bitter. I don't taste that acid back taste. You could put your creamer in here, and I think you would be good to go. So, let's talk cold brew makers. There's many of them out there, so let's show you a few options. These first three that I'm showing, you put your water and your grounds in the top compartment. Let it steep overnight for your 12 to 24 hours. Once it's done that, you pull the plug out the bottom. It filters out into the carafe below. It's a very easy, no mess, no fuss way to make cold brew. You also have the ones where you buy the lid with an infuser tube. You put your grounds in the tube, let it soak from overnight. You can also just buy the tube separately if that's what you want. And another option is to buy these bags. I don't have any experience with any of these that I just showed you, but I will leave links down below in case you want to buy them. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We really, truly appreciate each one of you watching. It means the world to us. If you want to be notified every time that we release a video, you can hit that subscribe button right there. We'd love to have you stick around and be a part of our family. Also, check out one of these two videos right here that's about to pop up. I'm sure you'll like those just as much. And remember, let's get food jump.